Shit.
I got a Charlie horse the minute the camera went on me.
I was wondering what was happening there. That's why I was checking in on you.
I tried massaging it. I was like, go away, but it just kept getting worse.
That looked pretty painful, I'm not going to lie. I was quite concerned.
Well, it wasn't like painful / like, oh, it just caught me off guard and I don't know how to feel about it.
Oh, well, I mean, as long as you're doing okay now, that's what matters.
Well, the depression's still there, but, you know, it is what it is.
Well, that's a different podcast. Well, as you guys can probably see, we are down one dude at the moment. John should be joining in the next, 10 minutes or so. He's just running a little bit behind, but Nate and I thought that we'd just get the ball rolling here on the Halloween edition of Those Movie Dudes podcast 2023. It is... Let's just say it's Halloween, because when the podcast is going out, it's going to be on Halloween. We're recording this on Monday, October 30th. But happy Halloween if you are listening on this day. This is a month that we celebrate every year so far. Mm-hmm. And I try my best to watch as many movies as possible, as many horror movies as possible, in particular movies that I've never seen before. I feel like I did okay this year, but Nate, how are you doing in your horror movie Spooktober checkup?
Well, I'm looking at my month, and go away, you stupid ad thing.
What's funny is I'm actually also looking at your month right now.
Oh, are you? Yeah. It wasn't... I think I have 12, 15 movies in here or something, and I don't see any that I would consider not horror. So I guess that's...
I mean, yeah, most of this year, if you're on the video here on YouTube or even Spotify, I think we have video for Spotify. I actually have Nate's watch list or Nate's diary on Letterboxd of all the movies that he watched this month, and it is pretty much all horror movies.
Yes, except for Killers of the Flower Moon. That's more...
Okay.
Thriller-ish, but and now you can see my thoughts on it.
Okay, so looking at your list here of movies that you watched this month, I gotta know your thoughts here because it looks like you finally pulled the trigger. You watched Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You back to back.
Oh yeah.
What'd you think? What'd you think of
it? It was a blast.
Little horror. No, you can't call it a trilogy, but sequels.
Jessica Roth is awesome, and she makes it so funny and unique. Like all the
La La
different
Land, right?
things. Yes, she is the one in the green dress.
Green dress. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. But just the way there would be parts in the middle of the movie where almost like she's realizing that she can just do all this stuff. So one of my favorites is her jumping out of the plane. She's just in a bikini, but with no parachute, and she just salutes the guy and then and she just falls out. She sprints into a wood shredder. It's fun. And I wasn't expecting the second one. It wasn't even really that much of a horror movie. It was more or less...
They really lean into the comedic elements, I think.
Comedy, sci-fi parts of it, because there's more people involved. And just kind of a lot of the replay.
Are these PG-13 or are they R? I forget.
They are. Let's see.
I think they're PG-13 because Christopher Landon, the director of these two movies, he also did a movie called Freaky with Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn, and that's an R-rated movie. I remember that one being really bloody, but this one, these two Happy Death Day movies, I think they're quite tame from what I remember. But
I was gonna say I feel like they'd probably be PG-13 because there's not a lot of
they're like a gateway horror movie. Yeah, exactly.
But Christopher Landon also directed. Didn't he do some of the Paranormal Activities?
Christopher Landon, I believe he did at least one of the Paranormal Activity movies. Yeah,
one of the later ones.
Yeah, it could have been.
Oh, he might have done the marked ones, which I think is one of the more popular ones.
Yeah, John and I have an infamous review of that on our channel that's unlisted that we can never release today. Let's just put it that way.
Oh Jesus!
All right, well, going back to your month here of movies, your horror movies, one that is very similar in premise in a way, just with maybe more time travel, is Totally Killer. You gave this a 3 out of 5. It looks like. What do you think? This is a brand new release on Amazon Prime. I think it's one of the top 10 movies of the month, on streaming. So we both checked this out.
Yeah, it it was too on the nose, like too mainstream feeling, like I'd seen it 100 times. I just thought it was unique that they showed like when things are changing, that kind of butterfly effect, and then you see how it's played out. And it's like
I know
one
what
of
you
the
mean
only
there.
times where that's kind of the solution, and then they just accept it. So like that's like one of the first movies that I see that's ever decided to do something like that.
Yeah.
And
I
just
think I
kind
went
of
2.5 for Totally Killer, but I still had
it
a
was
fun time with it.
okay.
It was fun. But did you know that this was written by Sasha Pearl Raver from the Schmoes Know? This is like,
No.
yeah, this was written by her, which I think is kind of
What?
hilarious. This is, yeah, back they Schmoes Know, if you've heard of Schmoes Know, I mean, they have a whole bunch of people that come and go on their podcasts, but one person that was on their podcast for years was Sasha Pearl Raver, and bam, she wrote this movie. So I think
Damn,
that's kind of
okay. I
badass.
didn't know that. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
And the last
Interesting.
movie that I want to talk about that is on your month of horror movies here is, looks like you finally checked out When Evil Lurks. This is the movie that I
I
briefly mentioned
did.
last week. You gave it a 4 out of 5. That's pretty exciting. So it looks like you liked it more than his other movie, Terrified. So what did you think
It
of
was
When
like,
Evil Lurks?
well, like compared to Terrified, Terrified felt almost like a rough draft of something, but like it still had good moments, but its storyline through was kind of iffy. But When Evil Lurks is just a dark, evil,
Yeah.
like just disturbing, like you said it last week or last episode. This director does not like children, and I can now see why.
Children are the devil
Because
to him. Yeah.
like
My
the
God.
first big thing with the little girl
And
and
the
the
dog.
dog
Yeah. Oh
caught
yeah.
me off guard because
The
I'm watching
jumps.
everything in the background,
Right.
and then in the foreground he just, and I'm like, oh,
And
okay.
real quick, the scene when she's walking down the road carrying the kid and he's like pulling up behind her. Oh fucking
And
Christ. It
just,
is intense.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just see all,
But
yeah. Oh
I,
yeah.
I just quickly wanted to shout out you and get your thoughts on that, because I did shut that out last week, and this movie did just get added to Shudder. So if you're in the mood for probably one of the most like nihilistic, most evil, brutal movies I've seen in quite some time, When Evil Lurks, it's on Shudder. But it
When the
does look
movie
like,
ends on agony, that just says anything. Just, you
oh
just
yeah.
feel this agony from everything that's happened, and then the credits start rolling.
Did you see
It's
what I
like, all
meant
right,
though by
cool.
like it's kind of a more like condensed version of The Wailing in a way?
Hmm.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like
it
a
just
lot
like
going
it
on,
had a
a lot of
different
characters.
cultural reference. Like
Exactly.
you had the
Yeah.
whaling, the more Korean style, and then this, the, I want to say it was Argentina, had almost like a Western type of feel. It was very red and just dour and
Right.
sad. Just stuff came out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting.
Well, it does look like our other dude has joined in.
Throw it in the oven.
He's here.
Here he
Wow.
is. What's
Taking
up,
over
And
that.
that's it.
everybody? And that's the end of the podcast forever.
Oh boy.
Happy recording day. Happy Spooktober. Happy to be back.
So we are just kind of talking about the month of October and just some of the other horror movies that we checked out this month. Nate talked about a couple already. Do you have any movies that you checked out this month that you want to briefly mention here?
You know, I in terms of horror movies, I think the most
Maybe
recent.
one that we watched last
Yeah,
week.
there's one that I don't think we've talked about on any podcast. Maybe we did briefly, but it's been a while.
I've briefly mentioned it. I don't think I did a review of it, but yeah.
Okay, it's Cobweb,
Oh
the
yeah.
very spooky movie where, I mean, there's just some crazy stuff going on in this house. Some very reminiscent of Malignant to a certain extent. There are some very unsettling scenes in this movie. I'm trying to think of specifics, but I've been at work all day and I'm just now on a movie podcast all of a sudden. But I just remember being very horrified. And there were certain moments in this movie where I turned to Spencer and I was like, "What the fuck?" So yeah, this is a big recommend because super under the radar. I think it came out around
in July.
where
It was the Oppenheimer or Barbenheimer weekend.
exactly. Yeah. So no one saw it essentially, but this is just one of those horror movies that not only is it fun, it's very unique and kind of just like I don't know. It's crazy.
This was my second time watching it. I was watching it with you, and I picked up on so much that I really enjoyed in the second time watch. But I would say that this is almost like the new Halloween cult classic because there's a jack-o'-lantern in every frame of this movie. Just somewhere there's a fucking
it
jack-o'-lantern.
loves jack-o'-lanterns, and
I mean,
has
they
nothing
live
to do
on
with
like
them
a
at all.
pumpkin patch or a pumpkin farm, and it's so sinister and just kind of evil and campy and just very fun. And Lizzie Kaplan just gives like a very ridiculous, over-the-top performance. And
Yes,
the use of shadows and lighting is fantastic. The camera work is great, and what's revealed in the third act might kind of make it or break it for you. But if you roll with it, it's actually just like it's a lot of fun and
very similar in certain ways to a movie that came out last year called Barbarian.
In a way,
I think it was last year, but just in terms
that
of
movie was bizarre.
the way
Very
that it's
bizarre.
structured.
That was very bizarre.
Yeah, it's like Spencer said, make or break. You know.
Yeah.
And
And Nate, you haven't seen Cobweb yet?
I have not, but I know it's streaming, so I could.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say check it out. Maybe tomorrow if you're feeling risky. It's a fun Halloween watch. That's all I really want to say. But
hey, I get out at 6 o'clock just in time for it to get dark and cold and spooky.
Do you guys know that we fall back an hour on Sunday? So it's gonna get dark even earlier now.
Wait, no,
it's gonna get dark at like 4:30.
Fall back, spring forward.
Wait,
yeah.
So
we actually get an extra hour this weekend. Yeah, but that means it's gonna get dark at like 4:30 where we are.
Yeah,
but then the days will continually get longer throughout December. Well, after December.
No, shorter.
Wait,
shorter. Yeah, shorter.
They get shorter throughout until the winter solstice, and then they get longer again.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess we can transition over to our first segment of. This is actually technically the first segment that we're doing, but I do have some news for you.
Oh.
This is movie news. News.
Thanks, Peter.
Of course.
That was live. That's live every week, by the way. Thanks, Peter. You're welcome, guys. And he's gone.
So this is breaking news. This came out a couple of hours ago, and I was kind of shocked when this happened. But we have a surprise horror sequel announcement here.
No,
Nate's freaking out
are
already.
Horror sequels ever a surprise? Because that's all they do is make sequels for horror.
I will say this: I was not expecting this to get announced, really, ever. I thought that we were good and done.
Can I try to guess?
I have it preloaded, and Nate may have seen it.
I already know. I'm very upset about it.
Is it Five Nights at Freddy's?
Okay, so Nate already knows. John, you're welcome to guess. I'll say that it's a cult horror movie that we all saw and really enjoyed back in 2000.
Oh, I see it.
14.
Damn it! I see the thing. You
all right.
say it.
Well, then I'm just gonna cue it in. If you're on video,
yeah.
It Follows sequel revealed. She's gonna return back in the lead. The director, David Robert Mitchell, is going to come back for a movie called They Follow.
That's not necessary. However, I would love to dive back in that universe again because this is one of the most iconic horror movies I've seen in the last 10 years. So I don't know how to feel about that. I'm just happy that I get to go back. I just hope they don't fuck it up.
That is kind of how I feel. Like I'm optimistic about it. I didn't expect it. I'm very happy that she's going to come back and the director's going to come back. If it was like a whole new director, new writer, I would be a little bit more like pessimistic about it. But the fact that they are reuniting, and he hasn't really made a movie since. He did Under the Silver Lake with Andrew Garfield, and that was kind of hit or miss. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but he hasn't really made anything else. So I think it is kind of fitting that he's going to come back and hopefully make one hell of a horror sequel. Nate's
You would
huffing and
hope.
puffing over
You would
there.
hope.
I'm very
You're not
upset.
happy
Like,
about it.
the fact that they waited nearly 10 years before making a sequel, like, come on. If it had been a couple years afterwards,
Came out 2017,
maybe.
right? 2017?
No, it's 2015.
Wow. Okay. 8 years.
And so, like, nearly 10 years later, like, unless that plays into it, but I'm just nervous because if they're going to bring these characters back, I know that guy probably doesn't even look anywhere remotely to what he did in the first one.
What guy?
And the
A lot of guys.
boyfriend, that
Oh,
boyfriend
the
that
younger
she's with
kid?
at the end.
Yeah, but I would assume and hope that they would do it.
I mean, she probably also looks 8 years older, and he also looks 8 years older.
She looks pretty similar, but yeah, just maybe more. Yeah,
because I
makeup.
saw in The Watcher, she looked
Yeah,
pretty. It
similar.
follows like so,
Mhm.
but no, it's just why. The only thing that's saving me is, like you said, same director, same cast. That
Right.
gives me hope. Anything
Well,
else,
at least
it's just
her.
like,
I don't know if anyone
Yes,
else
oh,
in the
yeah.
cast is confirmed, but at least her.
and she's
which
great
is nice.
in whatever she
Yeah,
does. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I just
And you
it
don't have to go see it
need
either.
to.
You don't have
No,
to
but
watch
I
it.
will.
True.
Okay?
You can
Yeah, of
pretend.
course. This is going to be
Like-
hype. I mean, when this movie gets announced, and hopefully it's like a prime summer release, or maybe even
I'll be in theaters.
October. Yeah, I will definitely go and see it. I definitely have high expectations. If they're gonna make a sequel, then I have huge expectations.
But
So,
just why? Make something new. Come
Sure.
on.
and we
Yeah.
also have another surprise horror sequel announcement.
Okay. What else?
I don't
This
know
was
if I'm ready.
announced-
Or am I guessing again?
This was announced over the weekend. It's a movie that we've all seen. It's actually a recent movie. It was an original idea. I think it was based on a short novel from.
Oh, Lights Out? No, there was a sequel to that already.
There's not a sequel to Lights Out, but
Oh.
that is a good guess.
So it's not that.
It's a movie that
Oh,
Nate
is
and I
it?
saw in theaters, and I had a great theater experience when watching this movie. Nate had a horrible weekend that weekend, but
Is this one of those movies
I-
that Nate hated and then liked?
no, I think we both came out of the movie being like, we really enjoyed this. I'm just going to reveal it
Yeah, I don't
for the sake
Yeah,
of the
I'm at a
podcast.
loss.
My
But-
brain doesn't work that fast.
The Black Phone 2,
Oh.
summer 2025 from Universal and Blumhouse.
Oh, I did have
Ye-
a bad weekend. I was like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you
I was
lost
like,
all-
you
I
lost
saw your
stolen
movie.
out of the car.
Yeah.
And yeah, I forgot.
That still
Okay.
doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me. Your Blu-rays disappeared, and
They're
And
on the
what- I don't know. I
golf
feel like an
course, and
alien
she
took
stole
them.
them. That's
And
what
my
happened.
full 1 ml cartridge. Like, come on.
And
They could have
Yeah.
stolen the car, but they didn't. They just took my movies and my other stuff.
that's
so what I
crazy that
think
you'd
is
rather them steal a vehicle.
Well, it wasn't my vehicle.
Wow.
this is I would prefer an It Follows sequel over a Black Phone
Same.
sequel, to be honest. But the fact that they are doing this is interesting only because the director Scott Derrickson and the writer, his writing partner that's done like all of his movies, they both were like, we're not going to make a sequel unless the idea is there. And I guess Joe Hill, the original author of the short novel, called them and were like, I have an idea for the Black Phone 2. And then they were like, oh, okay, it's awesome. So then they called Universal and Blumhouse. They're like, okay, yeah, do it. Bam. So this happened, like this materialized so fast. And I guess the concept is the reason they're all going to do it, because they were all sold immediately. So that is interesting, I think. But we'll have to wait and see what happens here.
I
But-
just,
Yeah.
I don't,
No,
I can't really see how they would do it. But then, of course, if Joe Hill wrote it, then he's got more insight to it than anyone else. So I guess that's fine. But like
Yeah.
you said, we don't need it. It's one of those ones that it was original and it worked. And cool. Not everything needs to be a universe. Like there doesn't
That's
need
the
to
thing, but
be a
every
Black Phone
film
universe.
studio wants their franchise, obviously. So they'll take the risks. But I guess that does lead me to my final question for you guys. What surprise horror sequel announcement would get your taints tingling?
Jesus. That's an interesting way to put it. Get my taints tingling. Define a horror movie. Just kidding.
Oh my freaking! I was gonna say,
like,
don't even
'cause
start.
the first thing that came to mind
horror
was
movie that you would like to see either a sequel or even maybe like a reimagining.
The first thing that came to my mind was Spontaneous, because that, in a sense, is a horror film to a certain extent. It'd be cool to see that concept done again, but I feel like that's not a good answer. I'm gonna keep thinking here.
I would like to see. God, there's so many movies that I would love to see sequels of. God, I can't even. Like, I'm thinking of a bunch of classics that I would just like to see reimagined, but I don't want to go with like a Friday the 13th or a Halloween.
I would like to see a movie that's where a reimagining of Killer Clowns from Outer Space done in a modern day.
God.
That's bloody, that's R-rated, that's campy and funny. And yeah, I want to see it. Like how they're redoing Toxic Avenger, which needs to happen. So
I don't know. I don't have anything for you. That's definitely.
Let me
more
look
of a
at my
me
shelf
question.
real quick.
I really got to think.
Well, no worries. We can you can just skip the question. Stupid anyways.
Do you have any good questions? That's just a bad question, you know.
No.
How about a modern retelling of Misery? Like, who would play Annie Wilkes?
Melissa McCarthy.
That was who was in my mind.
Rebel Wilson.
Okay, screw Rebel Wilson. She's not funny and she can't act.
Kathy. Oh wait, she was in the first one. Fuck.
Yes. No, Kathy Bates would have to be like take the sheriff's job, like trying to find out who did it. That little tongue in cheek, like, oh, she was in this.
Who's that woman from Fargo who plays the cop?
Frances McDormand.
No. That's the other season of Fargo. The one, like the bigger one.
I
with
didn't
the dark
watch
hair.
the show Fargo.
Okay, I feel like
I've only seen the movie, the good one.
I just honestly put Mia Goth in any movie and I'll watch it, especially if it's a horror movie. How about that? That's my answer.
Okay. I lost the ability to use a mouse at the moment, so it's quickly charging, so I have no way to switch anything.
Okay, then I'll do it.
All I'll say is Killer Clowns from Outer Space would be dope.
Yeah, and you can always
throw it in the oven.
You know?
Always.
If it's bad, you throw it in the oven at the end of the day.
I would like to see a modern telling of like if Night of the Living Dead were to actually happen. Like, what would be the cause of it?
Oh, I know the obvious answer.
People do.
The obvious answer is 28 months or years later. That's the obvious answer.
Wanted to
Where
write
is that movie?
Sequel. Wanted to. I had an idea in college to write 28 years later.
Yes, that's the movie. I mean, that movie needs to happen at some point, and it will.
Everyone survive, or like everyone's come back after everything, but then they go into the house where the woman was, and the people who moved in there, the kid like finds something or pricks his finger and starts to go sick, and they don't know why.
It starts
and
over.
Then it starts
yeah,
again.
Yeah, dude. There's
like
so much there that
because 28 months later, you could just say that's just
going to be. It kind of needs it for the continuity of the titles of sequels, though.
I don't.
You have days.
But 20.
If they just go years,
but it's been so long.
28 decades later.
It's probably
been almost
like 280
years.
Imagine one that's almost 300 years later, and it's literally just like cars. It's just cars. It's Pixar's Cars. They've taken over the world.
That escalated
and that's
quickly.
And there's a bunch of
rename
maters driving around.
Yeah,
not Mater, but without the
I think that sounds horrible. Let's move on.
Very much.
Well, the movie already exists. You can put it in the same universe if you want. Okay. So anything else you want to do for movie news?
Nope, that covers it.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our first time watch. That being the movie I chose, but first time watches, baby.
First time watchers, are you watching with us? We those movie dudes, and we about to discuss another movie that we've never seen. So grab some popcorn and pull up a seat.
Oh,
we caught you
sorry,
again.
sorry, everybody.
Caught you again.
Looks like you got the mouse back. Okay,
It's okay. Yeah,
um,
a 2-minute charge is 90 minutes of battery.
that's crazy.
Oh,
That's
shit.
crazy. Except
Damn.
Apple's stupid,
Like a
and their
Tesla
mouse has a
mouse.
fucking plug-in on the bottom of it, which doesn't make
It's
any
so
goddamn
dumb.
sense.
I complain about it literally once every 2
Worst
months.
design
when I
ever.
need to charge
Worst
it.
design ever. There's mouses that came out in 1983 that have a fucking better design. Whatever.
Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, okay. Poltergeist.
Here we are. Poltergeist, 1980 something's Poltergeist, 1982.
1982.
Yeah, a movie that I chose. It was between Poltergeist and The Lost Boys, which Spencer, you watched that the other night. Sounds like you had a good
I
time with
did.
that one.
It was a
as
total
well.
vibe. Loved it. But
That might
yes.
be a tomorrow watch for me because it's Halloween. I want to watch something I've never seen before. I got it on 4K.
It's worth it.
So
The 4K looked amazing. It looked like it could have been made in the early 2000s, late 2010s, but with 80s cheese.
okay, I'm down for that. Doesn't it have no, not Matthew Broderick. No, Kiefer Sutherland in it.
It
Mhm.
does.
Okay,
Corey
Okay.
Feldman.
Yep.
it's
Corey
literally
Corey
just Stand
Haim.
by Me. It's just Stand by Me, but vampires.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
fun. I really enjoyed it. But we're here to talk about
Yeah,
Poltergeist.
not Lost Boys will be next Spooktober, but yeah, Poltergeist, a movie I've owned on 4K. It's still in the wrapping paper because when I actually ended up watching it, it was on HBO Max or Max, sorry, with my parents up in Maine. But yeah, it's just a movie about a girl who somehow gets connected with this evil presence living in her closet and tries to eat her, and she gets sucked in, kind of like in Insidious, and she's in this
That
other
was
world.
the worst description.
I'm not
The
description guy.
absolute worst.
Do you want to do it? How about you do it, Nate? I'll let you do it. It's all you.
A regular suburban family whose daughter begins talking to ghosts in their TV. And
The
their
family's
home
is
is a
haunted
thought mine
by a
was
portal.
host
better.
of demonic ghosts.
Mine felt
Oh
better.
my god.
My
Yours
only-
felt better. A girl
my
goes
only,
into a closet.
a girl comes out into the closet. Yeah, no, my only kind of introduction into this film, I'd never seen it before, was like the Family Guy episode, which has a common trend
Oh yeah.
with
It's
a
a
lot
whole
of my
episode.
unseen filmography. But essentially it was like hi Molly. It was the episode where Peter, I think, is like digging a pool for his family, which is pretty much what happens in the movie anyway. So I basically got the gist of Poltergeist. I knew the story going in. I just didn't know what we had in store in the original 1982 classic.
Right.
Um,
And
Oh.
Nate, you had seen this movie before, right?
I have. Yes.
How many times?
Once before.
Okay,
Oh.
this is your second time watch, because this was my second time watch. I watched this, I want to say maybe like 3 years ago for the first time. Like it was kind of recent. I had delayed watching it for so long, and finally, wanted to check it out. And I remember really, really enjoying it. Like this movie is just insanely fun. Like it's ridiculous at times.
yes.
And like the practical effects are fun. It very much feels like a Steven Spielberg directed movie, and like that is the common rumor around Hollywood, is that because E.T. was filming like a block over, Steven Spielberg would basically run over at night, direct a whole bunch of stuff for Poltergeist, go back during the day, do E.T. stuff, and just kind of like go back and forth between sets and direct a lot of the stuff, because Toby Hooper is the credited director for Poltergeist, and he obviously has done Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Nate could probably name like 10 other movies that he's done. But this is surprisingly PG.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind.
It's
Every
Wasn't it
time.
It's
originally
that time.
PG-13?
There's no PG-13, I guess, so it had to be,
Yeah.
but it's still like blows my mind that this is PG. It's so it's scary. It's
probably
creepy.
movies like this that force them to bridge the gap with a rating that went in between PG and R. Because there are some scenes in this movie, like a particular one where a kid is getting devoured by a certain vegetative demon or whatever you want to
Tree.
call it.
Yeah, the tree.
A tree. Yeah,
That's
okay, I didn't want to spoil it.
terrifying.
It's a tree. It's a tree.
And that was directly out of Spielberg's nightmares when he was a kid. Was there was a tree outside of his window and he was terrified of it, so he included it in the movie.
Wow.
There's a lot of himself, I guess, in this movie, and obviously you have like the mom running around in her underwear for like the second half of the movie. You have them laying in bed like rolling up cigarettes and smoking it and everything. It's so like
Cigarettes?
at this point. Was it cigarettes or weed? I don't remember. I thought it was
weed. She
Yeah, it
she
was weed.
puffs on it,
It was-
starts coughing,
okay.
and then they laugh.
okay. It probably was. I just what they were rolling was
Yeah.
super brown, so I thought that it was tobacco. But
It was
and
80s
it's just-
weed, bro.
All right,
80s
well,
weed
fair
and
enough.
shit.
This was
there goes my point. It's PG movie. It's a family movie technically. So it's just
Spielberg's
funny.
first attempt at making the Fablemans.
Maybe
Maybe that's
because
what
it
his
is an
family was like.
all-American family having to deal with this. I mean, they open with the theme song for America. So yeah.
Yeah, they
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
do.
And
But,
just that leads into the whole movie. That's the first thing you hear, and the first thing you see is just. I guess they did this a lot in the 80s. Like once a cable channel was done broadcasting for the night, it would just go static, and
Yeah.
so it was
That's what my
crazy
mom
that
was
they
telling
added that
me
in.
during the movie is that which I obviously didn't know is that I mean back then you had what 8 or 10 channels at best, and
If you were
then
lucky.
yeah, their 24-hour programming was just not a thing. They would always play the national anthem the national anthem, right? And show
Mhm.
like shots of Washington D.C. for
Star
whatever
Spangled
reason,
Banner,
probably
yeah.
on like ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever. And then it just went static. It's just an interesting thing that I couldn't relate to until they were like, yeah, that happened all the time. I'm like, oh, what the that's very strange.
And it's a really cool idea to like, hey, I have this child communicate with these spirits through the static electricity and the energy. I thought that was an interesting concept. But John, with this being your first time watching, it sounds like you got to experience it watching with your family when you were visiting up here. What
Yeah.
did you think of this family PG horror movie?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and it was cool watching it with two people that had grown up in the 80s as well. So they grew up in suburban neighborhoods, and
Had they seen it before?
I think that they had because they were
Okay.
like, oh, isn't that the actor from this? Oh, what the guy who plays the dad.
Coach.
Craig T. Nelson from The Incredibles. He's Mr. Incredible.
Okay, that's not the comparison they made. He's definitely from something else.
He's
He was
Coach
from the TV show
from
Coach.
Okay, there's another movie though. I feel like that's like
Parenthood?
a classic.
No, that's
No,
Yeah,
that was Steve
Parenthood.
Martin.
No, That's Tweet.
Well, Craig T. Nelson was also in Family Guy. Me and Spencer were talking about it, where he goes, "Are you Peter Griffin?" He goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "Make it quick," and he's holding the gun because
Oh,
he
okay.
does that little note, and the ink or whatever covers it, and it just says, "I want to kill Craig T. Nelson."
well, he's also the dad in The Proposal, and he's in a whole bunch of stuff.
Either way, I had a ton of fun with this movie, and I guess 2 out of the 3 kids in this movie are passed since this movie came out. Especially the daughter died from something awful, just unfortunate as a 12-year-old.
Bowel obstruction.
A bowel obstruction, which I can't
It was
imagine
a
how painful that
sickness,
has
an
to
illness, yeah. And
do you know how the older daughter
she
died?
got strangled to death by her
be?
ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, she got murdered.
Like
Yeah,
the
that's-
year this movie came out, like 6 months after this movie came out, which is fucking.
It's weird because I feel like
heartbreaking.
there's movies like this that come out, and there's always these like weird, unsettling stories behind some of the deaths that have happened to the actors in them, like the movie with the helicopter, fucking
Twilight Zone movie.
Twilight
Oh,
Zone, like,
Twilight Zone.
just yeah, there's something, I don't know, something a little
And
iffy
also,
there, but-
there was a rumor. I don't know if it's true. Actually, really haven't looked into it too much, but I think this movie had some controversy because they used actual human remains for props
why
in the pool.
why did they do that?
in the pool.
Cheaper.
Yeah, I
And
guess.
how
cheaper.
is that cheaper? They
Because you just get them. You'd get them from supply places like.
I'm not gonna ask any
They
questions.
actually
Like a
kind
morgue?
of they explain it in the movie Return of the Living Dead, like how people get real skeletons and that they're cheaper because plastic ones you have to mold them based on the bones, and it's just cheaper to just buy a skeleton from someone.
That's-
Crazy
That's,
times
first
back
of all,
then.
insane.
Um,
But
yeah.
my thoughts on the movie, I thought it was a lot of fun. I definitely see the Spielberg comparisons. I didn't realize. I think there's an opening credits where it says like produced by Steven Spielberg. It's one of those movies.
Yeah, I think it opens a Steven Spielberg production or something.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
And dude, I felt E.T. it has this almost like fantasy homebody feel about it. Just makes you feel like warm and fuzzy inside. And even though it's a horror movie, it just makes you feel like you're so just engulfed in this world. And it was the same feeling I had with ET, where it's like you feel like you are watching this movie from a child's perspective. And I do really love that about movies like this, because it does make you feel like a kid again in this fantastical, weird, unsettling story. And despite knowing pretty much exactly what was going to happen, there were still certain scenes that I know definitely hit harder back in the 80s, like with the building developer who was like, yeah, we're going to move all the graves and put this here. And it's like, but when they have that reveal, I'm sure that hit a little bit harder back then. It's like, but you didn't move the bodies.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna talk about that scene. Sure.
Is that where he's
crazy
screaming?
I was gonna save it
Yeah.
because it is probably one of the most over the top line deliveries
I
I've
love that
ever
scene.
heard in my life.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to present real quick.
Oh,
because,
yeah. Oh, I didn't know you had that loaded
yeah,
up. Yeah.
this is absolutely ridiculous. The way he delivers
this
this
scene.
line. I'm gonna play it here in just 1 second. I gotta find it. There it is. All right. Do you guys have audio? Let me know.
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you?
It's not playing for me yet, but
You left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones! Why? Why?
oh, can you play? I missed it. Can you play it one more time?
Did you
Oh,
wait? Do you have
come on.
audio or no?
Yeah, I heard it just as it was finishing up. Now it's loaded up for
Okay.
me.
The way he delivers "why" at the end of this
Why?
clip is just ridiculous, right?
You only moved the headstones! Why? Why?
Oh my god.
It's so intense. Like, why did he have to go that hard on that delivery? It's
Spielberg,
so
man.
terrifying. I
Yeah,
guess.
man.
Did you notice the jump cut too earlier in
Okay.
the movie? The really bad one.
Let's take a look here. Let's take a look.
No air, except that you can breathe. And you're getting pulled along.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, I missed your time. Hi.
Look, my TV's not on.
Wait, it just cuts like that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I remember when I first watched this movie and that happened, I was so confused. I thought that I like glitched
Like
out.
missed 10 minutes or something?
Yeah,
That's-
and also you'll see like a bright light flash right before the scene starts, which looks like maybe like a cop's outside. It's so disorienting and it makes no sense. I don't remember the reason behind it, but there is a reason behind it. I think it had something to do with like they mentioned like some product placement and then they didn't have the rights to do it or they just revoked it out of like some stupid like dispute. That could be a rumor, but it's so glaring and so weird. It takes me out every time, but let's just watch it one more
No
time.
air, except that you can breathe. And you're getting pulled along.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, I missed your time. Hi.
Look, my TV's not on, so
Oh, no.
you're having problems.
I feel like I
Yeah,
just
that's
blacked
just
out and then woke
crazy.
up at a different part of the movie. That's
It's
crazy.
so confusing. I still don't get it. Yeah, but
Because there's certain scenes like in movies where like a conversation ends and then it kind of trails off and then you're in a different spot. But they cut him off like mid-sentence. That's
yeah,
very
and they
strange.
have that bright flash, which maybe there's something wrong with like the original negative of the film, or they they struck a light right before they called action, and it's
Yeah.
somehow in the. It
No
doesn't make any
air,
sense.
Except that you can breathe. And you're getting pulled along.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, I missed your time. Hi.
And it also picks
that's
her up
weird.
mid-sentence
It's
in the
mid-sentence
next
for
shot
her.
too.
Yeah,
On both sides. Yeah, it's her talking, but in different settings. That's awfully
so-
strange.
It sounds better when you're watching the movie though, because I remember watching it and she I'm pretty sure she gets close to finishing her sentence. So it's kind of okay, but it's still crap because you go from a bright kitchen to out front of their
Except that
neighbor's
you can
house.
breathe.
I wonder if there's like a
And
director's
you're getting
cut
pulled along.
where like that's not cut out for whatever reason.
It's
Yeah.
just so like what is that light? Is
And you're
there
getting
lightning
pulled along.
going on in the back or
yeah. Like, what is that? Like, is there a cop outside? Like, it doesn't.
no? That's
And it's
definitely
they're
like
clearly
striking.
arguing. They're still arguing, but like we don't know what they're arguing about because the last scene is he's just against the wall listening to her talking. And then
That's
boom.
actually a cool shot too. Like if that was actually like I don't know. It's an unsettling shot, I guess, but he's
Air,
also kind of
except that you can breathe.
comical the way he's
And you're
acting.
getting pulled
Like,
along.
what is he even
Okay.
doing?
And you're getting pulled along, and then bam.
Yeah, you're getting
Yeah.
pulled along, and then, hey, neighbor.
It's just
What's
it's
for
a weird
dinner?
choice that they decide
Isn't he
to
just
do.
eating a whole plate of beans too? It's like, what is this, like,
Probably.
80s like TV
Cuesta
dinner shit?
Verde.
I will
So
say
suburban.
I loved how they chose to open the movie. I mean, first of all, you have a great score by Jerry Goldsmith throughout this whole movie. I mean, he's the definitive 80s movie composer. But you have the adorable golden retriever going into every room and just checking on every member of the family, grabbing that bag of chips that the kid fell asleep with and like dumping out on the floor and eating it outside, going into the other bed and just munching on some other goodies. Just a great opening, and I love that the dog had a lot to do in the movie as well. Like he's a prominent character throughout, so I enjoyed that.
Do you remember his
Nate,
name?
I don't remember his name.
Roger.
Roger. He's a good boy.
Roger the dog.
He's a good duders. But yeah, Nate. So how was this rewatch for you?
I fell in love with this on this rewatch. It is just, I have, other than in the theater, I haven't been able to sit down and like watch a movie straight through without pausing it or rewinding it. This one I did, because you just get sucked into this family. You love all the characters. And the thing that I like about it most is, like, a lot of movies, when it comes to Poltergeist, there's one or two characters that don't believe what's going on. They totally dismiss it, blah, 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 blah. But the mom, like, immediately finds a way to convince her husband that this is working, and it works. And so the fact that they're all in on it just adds more at stake. Like, there's more risk involved. But just the music, I love that calm flute music that plays when it's coming in. And then the introduction of the psychologists. Like, once they come in, it's almost like a completely different movie. Like with E.T., it changed when the people in the hazmat suits showed up.
Right.
For this, it's like, oh, here comes the people who know what they're doing. And you see a lot of that in new movies, like in Insidious and The Conjuring. You always bring in the investigators. And the character by Zelda Rubinstein, she just fits. I don't think anyone else could deliver the lines. And
There's one scene
Just-
when they bring in those investigators that I thought was so funny, where they're there for like one night, and like their whole job is to like pay attention and see like if there's anything paranormal or suspicious going on. And this guy just chooses to just kind of write it off and not pay attention, like he's a security guard. Like there's some crazy like lights and almost like human figures coming out of this like this bedroom, and he's just like doing something else. Like, what are you doing? You're there for
they
one
haven't
night.
seen a whole lot yet. Like,
Yeah,
they've
and
seen
he's like,
stuff move, but
yeah. I was like, oh, bro, he was like all hyped about, oh yeah, I saw this like car move over the course of 5 hours, and then he sees all this crazy stuff and still doesn't pay attention. I'm like, what?
well, granted, he's staying up in the middle of the night. He's probably tired, so he's just like, all right, I'm gonna sit here and doodle. And then eventually, when something does happen, because the camera's automatic, so it's not like he needs to shoot what's going on. The camera turns and like points at the stairs, and he's just kind of monitoring.
You think you'd be more
But-
invested if that was the job you chose, though? I don't know. That was just my thought.
But what'd you guys think of the real practical face scraping, pulling the skin off the face of that such a real looking person?
It doesn't belong in a PG movie.
Oh my god! Okay, Dad.
It's haunting. It's
Come
terrifying.
on.
That's the thing.
Haunting.
it's terrible. It's creepy. I kind of wish that I discovered that this was PG back when I was like 7 or 8 on like VHS and be like, ooh, PG. Like, I want to watch this. And just seeing if this movie could fuck me up the way like Jaws or Sixth Sense or all these other movies we talked about 100 times. Like, because those early horror movies are so impactful, and I feel like this one could have been a huge contention to really fuck me up as a kid. Because even watching this the other night, there were some creepy moments for sure. I mean, like the stuff with the tree outside the kid's window, and that just it's a childhood fear that is so like ingrained in my mind. Like everyone has probably had like I remember I had to like sleep with the door cracked open for a good year of my life at home, and like I had to
Yeah, I
have like a
can't
dim light on in the hallway, like or else I just like was not. I knew someone was going to come into my room or like stare like through the crack. I don't know. I would always freak me out. And so
I
this movie
cannot
does
sleep
kind
with
of
the door
explore that.
open. Can't
Yeah.
do it.
I have to because I have a
It-
cat, so I don't have a choice at this point. I'm so used to it, which might be a blessing, but
You could always
um,
just close the door when she's not in there.
then it's even worse because she'll just
Just
scratch at it and
scratch at
scratch at it all fuck because it's a cat. They don't understand what a door is.
You
They
need to
have to
get a
be in
cat
there and
door.
You
out
get a
of
kitty
there.
door. Just cut a little hole at the bottom
That's
of the
a
door.
that
Yeah,
no, I'd have to buy a whole new door.
No,
Anyways,
whatever.
No,
no,
you can
I
just kick it.
I
Boom.
can understand, Spencer, that you know that you would be terrified seeing this as a kid, just because I know that Jaws and Sixth Sense all stood the test of time for you and made you terrified as a child. But I think it's truly because not Jaws so much, but because it's told from that child's perspective, where you see it in your like developing brain as like a 13-year-old. You're like, that's horrifying. Like
And
like
she disappears too. Yeah, she's the one.
yeah, yeah, and exactly. You see yourself getting sucked into a closet. Like that's a horrifying concept as a child
Yeah.
to imagine that. Like same, like I was horrified of Jurassic Park when I saw that as a kid because I see it through these child's eyes, these giant dinosaurs. Like it is. Spielberg has a way of terrifying you with a PG movie. It really is an art that he mastered and he still continues to do so. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mainstream boy.
Poltergeist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
So what would you give it then on a 1 through 5 rating system?
God, I wonder if we're doing push-ups tonight. I don't know. I think for me, first time watch. This is first time watches.
This is first time watches. Don't you fucking forget about that.
I think
First time watches are
so just being the first time watch.
you watching with us? We those movie dudes.
This being the first time watch, I really enjoyed it. I think it is in 2023 still an instant classic. This is a movie that probably should be watched every other Spooktober. It's so fun. It gives you that feeling of being a kid and horrified, being sucked into a closet and talking to monsters through a TV. And it has one of the coolest, I think, reveals with the building kind of contractor guy. Either way, I think. Especially watching this with my parents who grew up in the 80s, it just kind of made the experience better. And we also watched this in a house that's over 100 years old, so that made it interesting as well. But I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. 4.5 out of 5. That's pretty big. Pretty big.
I know it's up there. It's
older
up there.
film. For
I'm scared of
mainstream boy.
TV static now. I'll say
I
that.
will say Poltergeist is probably a very mainstream movie at this point.
Yes,
all right.
absolutely it is.
Nate, for your second time watch on Poltergeist, what are you thinking?
This
Second time watches with those movie dudes.
And we about to discuss.
this movie is just one of the most iconic horror movies, or just movies in general. The music, the whole shot of Carol Ann reaching towards the TV, and when Zelda shows up and goes, and she's describing everything that's going on, and then she mentions the beast. That was the part that freaked me out, because until then you just hear her through the TV. And then once they start mentioning these other beings that want her, that's when it started getting creepy, and then the parents started getting involved. But yeah, I loved this movie on this time around. It's just so easy to watch and just such a loving, normal family situation. So I also gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Wow. Spencer, you are the one that's gonna have to decide whether or not we will be doing 82 push-ups tonight, because it came out in 1982. So you are muted right now as well. And now you're
I
unmuted.
gave it a 4.5 out of 5 as well on
Okay.
my second time watch. So it looks like we are doing push-ups.
How about
We're
this?
doing 13 push-ups.
Nope. We're gonna do it for how many years Carol Ann lived on this earth, and we're gonna do it for her
That's
tonight. 12.
12?
12 push-ups.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, but 13 is if you add up all the stars together, like 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. So it'd be 13 and a half.
I don't hate that.
I don't hate
13
it
and a half?
either. We can do that.
13 and a
All right,
half?
13,
Okay.
13
All right, here
and
we
a
go.
half for
Carol Ann. For Carol Ann, baby.
Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke or whatever.
Heather O'Rourke.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Poltergeist. Oh yeah. Poltergeist.
13 and a half. That's an interesting one. What if none of us actually did it? We just laid on the floor and just chilled, lied about it, even though this is something we decided to do.
That would be horrible.
Throw it in the oven.
4.5. Poltergeist, the original. Go check it out. If you're listening to this and you're still in the Spooktober mood, highly recommend Poltergeist. It's on HBO.
Yeah, it's a good watch for sure. And John had never seen it before, and he can testify that it is worth the watch. And it is dated, but it still holds up as a fun time, especially during the Halloween season.
I will be naming my first daughter Carol Ann.
No, you will not. Okay.
No, you need to have a daughter
The
first.
challenge? Yep.
No.
Now I'm never gonna have a daughter. It's gonna be all boys, 8 of them.
So should we move into some new releases at this point?
I suppose so. Oops, caught me again. Yeah,
John,
so-
you need to do something different.
It's
You
my
need to do
thing.
something
Sorry,
different.
the mainstream boy, we eat popcorn, and we're not upset about it, and we're not ashamed.
Yep.
New releases, everybody. So obviously, the segment we're talking about new releases. Should we start it off with a horror one, or do you guys want to do the other one, which is also kind of a horrific story?
It's very much a horror movie in itself.
Not.
I can just make it really quick. Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm surprised you guys didn't watch this movie. It's on Peacock. It's
I haven't
the
gotten
number
around
one
to it.
movie.
I know.
It's the number one
It
movie
just came on Peacock. I've watched other stuff.
in the box office. It made like $80 million opening weekend on a budget of $20 million. So it's made its budget back for sure. It's going to be profitable. I think it made like 150 worldwide. It's a hit. All I'll really say is that if you have kids and they're trying to get into the horror movie genre, and you want to show them a movie that might kind of freak them out, maybe like Poltergeist, they're like maybe like 10, 12 ish. I'd say this is a great gateway horror movie for them. If you've seen Willy's Wonderland, you've seen the more fun version of this premise. Nicolas Cage, animatronic.
Oh, that was supposed to be fun.
R-rated. I gave that movie like a 1.5 or a 2. This movie, I gave it 2 out of 5. I'd rather watch Nicolas Cage run around and interact with animatronics and freak out than Josh Hutcherson. So that's just how I feel. I never played the games, so I wasn't really the demographic for this movie. I have heard that the theater going experience of this movie is full of kids. So I don't know.
I will say my 19-year-old stepsister is absolutely obsessed with this film and the franchise as a whole. Like, grew up playing all the games since she was like 14, and she talked about this movie coming out in May. Like when I saw her last, was like, oh my god, did you see Five Nights at Freddy? The first trailer came out. I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna go see it like 15 times. So there's absolutely an audience for this movie. We are not that audience.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really care for it that much at all. But it is on Peacock. You can easily stream it and watch it if you do want to. Like I said, though, I think that Willy's Wonderland is the more fun premise or fun version of this premise,
and it's still a bad movie.
Good movie. Yeah,
it's a bad movie.
That's not saying much. So, Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, I don't really recommend it unless you are trying to, get someone into the horror genre, because they can handle it for sure. It's silly and kind of stupid. So yeah,
fair enough.
But it's at Freddy's.
The other movie that can be considered a horror movie in some contexts is Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's new 3.5-hour entry into his filmography. Apple TV Plus. You can go see it in theaters and IMAX. And I don't. Is it already out on Apple TV or not yet?
No, I think it'll be out. It doesn't have an official streaming release, but I'm sure it'll be out by Christmas.
Oh wow,
December,
that's actually a
I would
while.
imagine. Yeah, I don't think it'll be. It could be Thanksgiving. Who knows? It isn't making a whole lot of money in the box office. 3.5-hour
Sadly.
drama.
That's a
Sadly.
long movie,
Hey,
and
we all went out and watched it, but
you will absolutely feel. Did you go see it?
Of course.
You did.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's Martin Scorsese, of course. You know, as those movie dudes, this is the type of movie that you go out of your way to see. I know Spencer and I saw it in the IMAX theater. Leonardo DiCaprio, freaking
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro. You get a little bit of
Clemens.
Brendan Fraser in there toward
Lily
the end.
Gladstone.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely get a scene with Brendan Fraser. Oh my god, it is so over the top. The way he stands up and delivers his line.
I would like to talk to my
exactly.
person.
I just want to do one thing right in my life.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the way.
camera even like does this thing where it's like kind of like going like right and then like slowly raises up with him as he stands up. It's like a very over the top shot, like a sweeping reveal that
And,
he's
like,
there.
Yeah.
The way that they set up that scene is like they're bringing Leo in, and you're expecting this big courtroom drama, like you're waiting for stuff to get duked out. Then Brendan Fraser says that, and they're like, "All right, we'll resume tomorrow." It's like, what was the point of that? Just so he could converse with his client, and then he walks out, and you never end up in the courtroom again.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice posters.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
a
what
lot
you
of
get if
different
you're
posters
watching on
too.
YouTube. If you did
like that one in the top
subscribe
middle.
to the Patreon or to be a patron of Letterboxd, you get lots of poster options among other things.
Wow. Yeah, so I obviously was looking forward to watching this movie. I look forward to watching any movie that Martin Scorsese is going to make and still release. And the fact that he has a 3-hour and 26-minute epic out in theaters in IMAX, let alone fucking IMAX movie theaters, you're gonna go and see it. And we had to be there and watch it. And despite the subject matter being super, super depressing and a really tragic story, this is definitely one of the best movies of the year for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's so epic the way he tells the story. It's I have some gripes with some of the perspective of the story, but it still is a really, really great movie with great performances, great cinematography, the production design. I mean, you really feel like you're in this era, and it was just a really, really crazy theater going experience.
Yeah, it's a story where you feel the length, and you also very much will feel the tension and the heartbreak and the sadness and just the tragedy of this story, which is a very real story. And you were seeing a snippet of some of the atrocities that happened back in this time. But I think that clearly I know Scorsese has wanted to make this story for a while. But man, he doesn't hold back in terms of kind of the subject matter, and there's some absolutely brutal one-off scenes in this movie. Like there's some brutal ones, but the way that he cuts to them is just kind of a gut punch, like where it's just like, oh, dead in the most brutal way. It's like, Jesus Christ, like it really hits you. And I think that Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie plays quite the character. Not a very likable character. A very sad, somber character. That's the face that he gives throughout the entire movie.
Whole movie.
Him and every dude in this movie.
The whole time.
He's like Sydney Sweeney in every movie she's ever been in.
So you thought that he was incredible in this?
Yeah,
you think it's a career best performance the way
not
some
a career
critics are
best.
saying?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, and maybe that has to do with just the type of character he's playing. He's not likable. He's not like Jordan Belfort or, you know, the character in The Revenant.
Well, he's also an
or,
idiot, and Leo doesn't typically play like
oh, he's
bumbling
played Gilbert
idiots
Grape,
too often.
which I haven't seen.
Well,
but
that's very different. That's like
I'm not saying okay, haven't seen it. I don't know. If
he's
he's an
not
idiot, but it's
playing. He's just not. He's such a divisive character because you
Also
see
the first
him
role.
like, yeah, and he's doing these things, but then you also kind of see him once the consequences happen. You kind of see him go, "Oh crap! Like this is really bad." And so
Are
his
you talking
character
about
definitely has
Gilbert Grape or Killers of the Flower Moon right now?
Flower Moon.
Okay,
Oh.
okay. I was just making sure. I
I
thought you were still
Oh,
talking
and
about
Gilbert Grape,
Gilbert Grape
he's
for a second.
the best character. Like he's the
Yeah.
best in that movie.
You
Yeah.
started to say that. I was like, yeah, he does cut off the grasshopper's head at one point. I'm like thinking back of that movie.
Yeah, but he felt so much remorse because it cuts to him crying about it. So like,
Sure. All right, I just making sure I'm following. But yeah, okay.
yeah, no, he's fantastic, but he's just torn because you know what I think he genuinely loves his wife, and I know some people have said that he never did. I think he did because
But he's
she's
just an
one of the
idiot.
ones that could see him as.
I think it's one of those movies. It's one of those situations where like this happens in a lot of movies where people are forced into doing a certain thing, and then they start to develop a romance. It happened in The Creator movie we saw recently, where you're forced to kind of infiltrate the society to get a certain thing out of it, and then you fall in love. It's a very common thing in a movie, but I do genuinely think that he did have feelings for her and love her.
So yeah, I obviously Leo he's one of the best actors we have today, currently working for sure.
Okay.
He's great and he's very selective. I mean, he comes out with movies every couple of years. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the last one that he did. Like he's very selective now.
But he deserves that. He's done
Sure.
so much. He can pick and choose and do what he wants.
And I think him being attached as this character Ernest is probably part of the selling package of them getting $200 million to make this movie, and with Apple TV Plus and everything and IMAX, everything, the deal they got was probably the package of Leo's gonna lead, Robert De Niro and supporting, and all these other people, and Scorsese. But I really think this movie, I really wished, and this was originally going to happen, and I just can't unsee it. Jesse Plemons was initially going to play Ernest, and I think I would have believed it just maybe a little bit more. And Leo was supposed to play the FBI character. I thought that would have been, I would have been a little bit more immersed in that. I would have bought Jesse Plemons, and I think that would have been a very meaty role for him because he's definitely capable of doing that. I feel like Jesse Plemons just kind of plays these characters that he normally just pops up and just is himself. I wish I saw him as Ernest, to be honest. I think that it would have maybe changed the movie up a little bit, and we would have not because the movie does it doesn't really, but it follows Ernest a little too much for me. I wish I got more Lily Gladstone and her perspective of this event, because once she's in or she's getting the insulin, she's in a bed for an hour and 90 minutes of the movie, and you just follow Ernest
the
and
rest of
everything
it.
else.
She turns into Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween 3.
And that's like my only nitpick with this movie is like that section or that chunk of the film. But other than that gripe and that nitpick, I thought this movie, for 3 hours and 26 minutes, it flies by. Like the pacing was really, really well done for the most part, other than that little chunk. But it was just it's Martin Scorsese operating at the top of his game at like 82 years old. It's just unbelievable. And I hope we still get more epics like this. So it's worth it.
Yeah. I think we had the same gripes when we saw it side by side, and I think we felt the same kind of, I don't know. I think the movie did trail off a little bit when we lost her, because she was such a prominent part of the movie.
Yeah.
That I think it was good to go from Leo's side to her side, because she was such a strong female character that was like the spearhead of her family.
She's the heart of the movie too. Heart and soul of this movie.
She kept him grounded. Like she kept him like not honest, but her being there made him want to do better. But he was in such a situation where he had this overbearing uncle and this brother that he's doing stuff with. So he's torn between this woman he loves and him coming back from war and trying to make it. And this is the only way he can.
Ernest clearly doesn't have like sympathy, or he's not empathetic whatsoever toward, or like he doesn't have any like emotion or like feelings, I guess. Like he's a sociopath, psychopath, like for sure. He doesn't understand that. Oh yeah, maybe killing off your family isn't gonna like piss you off. Like you might be okay with it, sure. He's just a fucking idiot, like a fucking sociopath dumbass. But oh well.
And
it's a strange balance with that character.
So weird.
Yeah, it's very odd because
like autism,
like the actions that you see him take place in don't directly affect the family necessarily until the whole house explosion.
I mean, they kill all of her mom and like three sisters.
Well, her mom was sick. The only person he attacked was the investigator and like one other cleanup person who was investigating.
He did have
he indirectly caused it. Yeah, he indirectly did.
Him and his uncle and his brother, I suppose, were the reason why it happened, though. Like without them,
well, yes, these people don't get murdered,
you know.
But I don't think he's sitting there going, "Oh, I'm gonna kill her whole family and feel good about it." I think it was the
that's Robert De Niro.
Of yes, that's what it was. He's the one that was like, "Yeah, you gotta get this head money and keep it in the family," type of thing. And
there's also terrifying in this movie.
Yes,
like
creepy.
He was one of my probably the biggest standouts aside from Lily Gladstone. I thought she was great, but he was like, we see a performance from De Niro all the time at this point. He takes so many movie roles at this, but once he's paired with the best of the best, he just delivers. And like there's one scene like where he is just it's a very subtle performance at times too, because like he's just like standing at a party just like watching everybody and just coming up with his schemes and his plan of how he's going to just get rid of them all. And it's just terrifying because he's like pretending like he's helping them, but he is not. He is trying to get rid of them all, and it's so haunting. Yeah,
isn't he like he's so subtly menacing, almost like I just rewatched this movie, kind of like Kevin Spacey is in Baby Driver, where like he feels like he's on Ansel Elgort's side a little bit, and then you realize he is just trying to get the job done.
He gets chauffeured around. Whenever he pops up, he always seems to be in the passenger seat of a car and he's telling somebody to get in. Like he's a mob boss.
Like, I was actually laughing really hard when De Niro shows up like passenger side and he has his like goggles on and he's like having a full like conversation with Leo. I was laughing like pretty hard.
Get in.
Just the image was just perfect. Yeah.
The scene where he drives up to Leo and he's like, "I need you to sign this just in case." And Leo's like very hesitant to do it. Which basically like if Leo were to die, signs over all the rights to Robert De Niro's character, to the oil and everything that Lily Gladstone's family has, owns. That scene right there just shows like Robert De Niro doesn't give a shit about his own family. Like he just, I guess maybe bloodline he cares about, but at the end of the day, it's just like he wants that money, and Leo was the gateway to it.
Yeah,
and I like that that one guy. He was the clerk in No Country for Old Men. Did you see that little reference? He was the counter guy when Javier Bardem's talking to him and whatnot.
Right. Yep.
He made a really good comment to De Niro when he said, "You're pronouncing yourself too much." Like he always shows up when the bad thing happens. Like I don't want to give away one of the things, but one of the big things that happens and all this aftermath, and then he shows up, he's in his suit. It's like, you have no business being here. So he's playing with fire. It's almost like he gets his kicks off of being there and pretending to be the guy who's here to save everyone, when in reality he's the puppet master.
Right. Yeah. Just two-face. It's crazy. So, I think it is going to get a lot of Oscar nominations. I don't know if it's going to win many. The Irishman was nominated for 10 Oscars, and it didn't win a single one. So, I feel like this could be the same case here. I don't know. I think DiCaprio and Gladstone and De Niro are all locks.
Yeah, De
and
Niro for supporting.
I think De
Yeah.
Niro
think
could
would
win
be
supporting.
it could happen for
I think
sure.
of
like
great.
a
all of
career
them,
Oscar.
He's
has
fantastic.
he won an
in this.
Oscar?
He's
De
won
Niro?
two.
He's won 2.
Yeah, 2.
Oh,
Godfather
and
Part 2 and Raging Bull. So
Yes.
this would be his third. Which
I think he absolutely has a chance to win it.
Yeah. God, Molly, go away. But I initially went 4 out of 5 with this. I've thought about it a lot since I've seen it, and once it does come to Apple TV Plus, I definitely want to revisit it. Some of my initial thoughts after I watched it was like I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe that would have been better if it was cut up as like a 4-6 part limited series that Scorsese got to helm and hang with all the production budget that he had. I mean, just so we could kind of get a little bit more to the Osage storyline that I feel like was missing a little bit here. It did also, I mean, yeah, and sitting there for 3 hours and 30 minutes, it's definitely an undertaking, but it's not that hard to do. If you sat through a fucking Avengers movie for 3 hours, you can handle an extra 20 minutes. So I went 4 out of 5, but I could probably easily get it up to 4.5 out of 5. I definitely will watch it again when it comes out on Apple TV. So it's Scorsese just operating at the top of his game once again. He's one of the best filmmakers of all time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I also gave it a 4 out of 5. It's funny. I think I have almost the exact same thoughts where I would have loved to see this in like a 4-episode miniseries, but Scorsese's not going to do that. That's not something he would. That's not something he would.
He wouldn't do TV. I think it would service the story just a little bit better. But that's this is
a story that like I could absolutely see being told in another fashion. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I think that maybe another director, somebody tells another story similar to this along the same lines. But I really liked it. I still think like it's just one of those movies that it's a brutal subject matter to a certain extent. It reminded me of 12 Years a Slave, where like you sit there, you watch the whole thing, great movie, but are you going to really go back and sit through that again? This one I would more than that movie, but still I'm not going to be jumping out of my seat to watch, just sit down and get through this one again. But it's a great movie. Like it is like very, very good movie. So, but it's heavy film.
Yeah. Nate.
I love this movie. Like I would probably go into a theater again and watch it. Like it was the fastest 3.5 hours I've ever sat through. Like I remember sitting through The Irishman and being like, holy, when is this going to end? And I thought it was ending and there was still 45 minutes left. This one, like Spencer said, was paced so well. And I think you got to see enough aspects from all parties. And just once Jesse Plemons shows up, you could feel Ernest like slowly getting caught, and he's trying to backtrack and just feeling everyone close in on him and knowing who his uncle is and people trying to sell him out. And I just enjoyed it. And the music, and Lily Gladstone was like the unsung hero because she didn't have to do much. She just had this presence to her. But I would love to see some acting nominations. I think De Niro could get a supporting. And even DiCaprio, if they wanted to throw him in there, I wouldn't say no. I'm sure there might be some other better choices, but this movie was great. I definitely see it being in my top 10 this year. And first watch, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. The only thing that I really didn't like about it was the fact that they cut from the story to this live radio broadcast.
That was a choice. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And I went, why? I would have much rather had seen like them going away and what happens to Molly and where she goes and stuff. But I hated the fact that they just were like, oh, this is the time. Like, we're just gonna transition. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when that happened, all of a sudden, just Martin Scorsese was on the screen in full IMAX, and I remember being like, "Whoa!" It took me right out of the movie. I looked at John, and we both were like, "What the fuck? Why is Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese on screen?" But I was a little confused at first, but afterwards, I was like, "Okay." I mean, that was definitely, like I said, it was a choice, and it was an interesting choice because they could have easily just like cut to text and on actual photos like they usually do for movies like this and be like, oh, here's what happened, just you read a whole bunch of stuff. But they did it in a way that was very unique and kind of creative, where like it was an actual play telling the story in like a still like an old time. And then you have Scorsese come out and kind of just like do like the epilogue, like
I think it
presenting it in a
works.
way.
I
It's
think it
strange
works
though.
just because it's such a like I said earlier, it's a very personal project to him. Like he said himself, want to make this movie for so long. Like I think this is just his way of being like putting a bow on it in his own way, literally putting his face on the screen. I don't know. Is it the best choice? Probably not, but it does
Yeah.
take you out of it. But at the end of the day, I do like that he felt like he wanted to put himself in it. Like it felt that it meant that much to him, I guess. So
I felt
It's
a
something
little
I could see
robbed.
Tarantino. Yeah, I could see Tarantino doing
'Cause-
it. Like if that happened in a Tarantino movie, I would be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It wouldn't take me out of the movie. For
yeah, he
Scorsese,
does
for
have
some
that
reason, it
ego.
did.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
why, but yeah.
Yeah, because like you were going on this track where Ernest finally he's confused. He doesn't know if he's going to side with his uncle or if he's going to side with the government. And yeah, and then it just cuts to them in this live radio broadcast. And I'm like, oh, all that momentum just came to a halt. And now I'm like, come on. And then they have the nerve to end it with the Osage doing their ceremonial thing. It's like, oh, so you will do that as your final, but not play out the story. I felt let down, but that was the only real flaw for me. Other than that, I was sucked in. I didn't feel the length hardly at all. Maybe a little bit when she got sick, like you guys were talking about. But yeah, no, I love this movie. I think it beats The Irishman, at least to me. Irishman was boring to me. This was interesting. I like Native American lore and stuff like that. So I would see this again in theaters.
I like The Irishman a lot.
I don't remember a damn thing about The Irishman.
And the thing with the Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon, that's a Netflix, that's Apple TV Plus. Those are streaming platforms. I'm sure there's so much more footage that does exist of those movies. They could easily do an extended series, like the way the Hateful Eight did it. The Hateful Eight did an extended cut on Netflix. I haven't seen it actually, but it's like 5 episodes, and it's an extra like hour of footage that wasn't.
I didn't even know they did that.
Release. So that's actually becoming like a new trend that they're going to be doing, and you're probably going to be seeing that happen a lot more with the writers and actors strike that happened. They're going to try to probably repurpose a lot of material once there isn't a lot of movies to be released, because they haven't filmed anything since June. No new movies have been filming all year almost. So it's just
wild.
They're gonna want it seen. They're gonna want to make it worth it once it's shown. Yeah.
So I mean, like, have you guys ever heard of a Baz Luhrmann movie called Australia?
Yes.
With Nicole Kidman
and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yes. Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman. Australia. Yeah. So it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. I've never seen this movie.
Me neither.
6.6, whatever. So Hulu is coming out with Fairway Downs, whatever. It's a repurposed stuff from Australia as a Hulu miniseries.
What the fuck? Okay.
So you get to watch Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman in a TV series that has extended footage and stuff you've never seen before.
So it's literally Australia.
It's literally Australia, but like
what?
Double the runtime and just like way more story that you never got.
I'd rather just see it in a 4.5 hour movie. When it breaks up into a series, I feel that it just opens up these opportunities for like, oh, let's extend the lore. And it's like, come on, make it like a 4.5 hour movie that doesn't need to be branched off into other medium.
I actually disagree. I can, if it's edited in a way that's episodic, I can be okay with it. but like because as long as if you watch an episode, if it's contained and it tells like enough or it leaves enough of a cliffhanger to be like, oh, I gotta watch episode 2, I'm okay with it. If it's just like
that's when
random, then no.
That's what I don't like. It's like, oh, you're stopping now. I have to, whether they release them separately or release it all at once. Anytime it stops, it pulls me out. It's like, no, I want to see it.
You're not a big TV guy in general, because that is generally how TV works.
If I knew anything about Australia as a movie, I don't know anything about the story, then I feel like I could give a better opinion. But I do kind of like the idea that they feel like there's enough content there where they can make a series out of it. The fact that there's a movie and they're like, you know what? This could be a TV, like that they're taking something that's already there and repurposing it. Like it can't just be shit. Like if they chose this movie specifically to do that with, like there must be enough there to make it worth it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's just how I react. Like I like a lot of different series, but I would much rather see one whole story being played out with a pause in between.
I'm telling you, it's a new trend. Yeah, it's a critically acclaimed film, Blackberry, which is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. Coming to AMC and AMC Plus as a limited series. So they're just going to take footage that was supposed to be involved with the movie. It's going to be a 3-night event, and it's just going to be like an extended cut version of the film.
If you've seen the movie, there's no reason. Like if I'd seen Australia, if I'd seen this, which I've seen Blackberry, I'm not watching that. I know the story. Like what am I going to get out of it other than like a few extra scenes?
There were some aspects to the story I wish they explored a little more of, but like I don't know what this 3-night event is going to be. No one really knows. It's just kind of random. But the thing is, if it's on streaming like Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, and they want to, because like on Blu-rays, that was a huge trend on Blu-rays or DVDs and stuff. When a movie came out and then all of a sudden the Blu-ray physical media stuff, it comes out and it's always like unrated or extended cut or director's cut, and you get to watch a different version of the movie, kind of with deleted scenes involved or included, and it was always kind of fun. It never was really as good as the theatrical. Sometimes that's not the case, and you have like Blade Runner. And
Anchorman 2 has a huge extended edition.
Yeah,
that is
Snyder
one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like all the improv scenes included.
There's a reason why they get cut out.
I think it is a fun idea to pursue, especially if you're on streaming and you have the ability to do it. And if you're a fan of the movie and you want to see more story and different version of the film, sure, why not make it? You have the footage, just edit it. It's pretty easy to do. So the idea doesn't piss me off by any means, but it is an interesting way to recycle old movies.
It's just like, how much is your integrity worth? I guess if you're in the film industry and you are down to the bottom of the barrel, let's just cut up Australia and make a TV series. I get it.
Well,
like you gotta make money.
But sure. Anyways, Nate, I believe you you might have some horror trivia for us.
Oh boy,
this time around.
I do.
Oh,
that I
fuck.
do.
Not mainstream boy trivia.
Not mainstream, but here we are.
It's time for the answers to know this fact. For the questions I'm about to ask, like,
what is the capital of Bolivia?
It's mainstream boy trivia.
Oh, we caught Nate this time.
Oh, Nate, where were you? Was that popcorn or was that something else? Maybe some like candy corn or something?
It was Charleston Chews, actually.
Wow, people don't usually eat Charleston Chews that quickly.
So John got a big bucket of popcorn for Killers of the Flower Moon, and we had some pretzel sticks as well. And I broke up a couple and just put them in the popcorn as well. And he was so pissed.
I didn't like it.
We never talked about it after the fact, but just the body language and like the size, and also him throwing it across the theater and at me,
hitting an old lady.
Clear indications that he was not happy that the pretzels were mixed in with the popcorn. But I think it's sweet and salty. It was kind of nice.
No, I see what you were going for, but the initial bite of not knowing it was there because you snuck it in with me not knowing it was in there.
I took out a whole bunch, cracked them all in half. Locked him in.
The texture was just not. I'm a big texture guy. Don't put hard things in my soft things. Is basically what I'm getting at.
Okay, Nate. So you have some horror movie.
All right. So
yeah.
I do.
Crouton. You can put that in my salad. What?
Okay. So
Yep.
I did these questions. I'm not as good at this. I'm not the mainstream boy questions. I went a little more mainstream as far as the questions go, so there's not going to be really any deep cuts.
I appreciate that.
But there's a couple different ones. Like I have some taglines, some guess the cast, all that stuff. So I have 6 written down in case one of them you guys just can't know, but I'll give you hints if you don't get the first guess right. So put your names in the chat and be ready to click enter.
Shit, okay.
So Doug Jones, the famous Doug Jones, plays a lot of crazy movie monsters. But which iconic movie monster did Doug Jones not play? Was it A, the first?
You can't buzz in already.
No, sorry, I didn't know there was multiple choice, but I want to hear the multiple choice. So forget.
Yeah, that doesn't count. I get to answer first now.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
So it goes A, the first cave dweller in The Descent. B, the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth. C, Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus. Or D, Amazon River God from Shape of Water.
I'm gonna go with the Hocus Pocus one. I don't think he played that one.
That is incorrect. Ducky.
I'm gonna go with The Descent. I don't believe he's
that is correct
guy in that. Yeah, obviously he's Shape of Water. Obviously he's in Pan's Labyrinth. Hocus Pocus, he obviously is. And
he's a contortionist. He's able to do all that stuff. But
I thought you were gonna go with
Crawler.
I thought you were gonna go with the fact that he plays just a regular character in Absentia. So I thought you were gonna just say like, "Fuck you."
He's also
I didn't even know he
character
was in
named Saru in Star Trek Discovery, which is a very contortiony alien guy.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but
Very
good
nice.
job, Spencer. That's
Thank you.
1-0
Typical.
Spencer. All right. The next one is called Guess the Film from the Tagline.
Okay.
All right. The last man on Earth is not alone. Jonathan.
I Am Legend.
John ties it up.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, dude.
Nice.
Great movie.
Okay.
Great movie.
Very good movie. I love that movie.
Wow, I
Okay.
can't believe
Good
I
job.
Yeah.
Good job. Maybe
right.
I'm fit for this trivia thing after all.
Yeah, that was a good question. I like that. That could have been a lot of movies, honestly.
It's not worded well. The last man on Earth is not alone. Like
It's not. No.
Okay, cool.
It's okay.
It's a weird one.
But so the third one, guess the film by the cast.
Okay. I like this.
First, Joey King.
This is gonna be who's gonna be quick.
Wait, can I guess? Can I guess now, or do I have to type it in?
You can guess now, but I put work
unfair.
into these.
Can I take a? I just want to take a risk with
Go
one
ahead.
actor that I have.
Go ahead.
You can't buzz in until I buzz in. Just so you know, if you answer right now.
I already entered it.
You just did.
I know, but
yeah.
if you get it wrong, you have to wait till I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The Conjuring.
Yeah, The Conjuring.
Okay.
Okay, please let me give all the options before you.
Fair enough.
Okay. But good job, The Conjuring.
I know my Joey King
because
movies.
I would have said
My-
The Conjuring too. It's the only horror movie she's in. Ugh, stupid.
well, she wasn't in The Conjuring 2. She was in The Conjuring.
Yes.
But my other choices
That's-
were Mackenzie Foy and Patrick Wilson. So that would have given it away there too. Okay, Spencer's up 2-1.
Okay, easy.
This one is multiple choice answers. In which Friday the 13th film
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
did Jason first appear with the hockey mask? Was it A, Part 3 in 3D? B, Part 2? C, Part 4, the final chapter? or D, Part 5, A New Beginning? Mainstream boy.
It's so iconic. He had to have it in part 2.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. Ducky.
Part 3.
That is correct. Part
Oh my
3 in
God.
3D. He
Stupid.
steals it from the fat, chubby guy named Shelly. And that is when we officially get the Jason that we all know and love.
What's he
was
wearing in the first
He was
two?
wearing a potato sack in the second one.
And he's only in the first one, spoilers, in the last shot.
So John, I've only seen the first 4, and then I just stopped because I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same. I've seen
Yeah.
Jason X. That's one I've seen. That's like the 10th one, I think.
That's
or
a whole
whatever.
different side of
Yeah,
Jason.
that's not even like.
That's
Oh,
all.
and
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen Freddy
flawed.
vs. Jason too.
I still have
That
never
one's
seen
crazy.
Jason Goes to Hell. I've never seen that one, but
That
Probably
one's
never
grown
mind.
on me over the years. It's grown
Yeah.
on me.
Jason
wanna
Takes
watch it.
Manhattan is hilarious. Okay, yeah, sorry.
So you won.
But Spencer did win, but we've done this all the other episodes. We need to get to an hour and 37.
Exactly.
Um,
Palate cleanser round. Here we go.
So, John, if you were to get these next two right,
yeah, if
it
he
would
gets
be
the
a
next 2,
tie.
he ties it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I was
okay.
thinking,
All right.
Yeah.
That's how you want to do
There's
it.
still a chance.
Okay.
So,
If I get
Number
this next one, I
5.
lose.
number 5 is another
Wait,
guess the
first.
tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Might
that's
be
what
my
John's good
thing.
at.
Yeah, I'm really good at that, apparently.
All right. It doesn't think. It doesn't feel. It doesn't give up. Mainstream boy.
Oh shit, what's the movie called? It doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it doesn't give up.
Who's that Pokemon?
Oh, it's
To give you a 5-second countdown.
oh, I can't think of the name of it. I keep
5,
it's
4.
a John Carpenter movie. I can't think of the name of
3.
it. It feels stupid.
It is not the thing, John. 2.
Oh, the thing.
1. It is not the
You
thing.
just said it's not the thing.
Okay.
Wait, so
It's not
can
the
you
thing.
repeat it? The tagline?
Oh, I think
Yes.
I know what it is.
And the way I say it, pay attention to that. It doesn't feel, it doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it doesn't give up.
It.
Is that your final answer?
I swear to God, if it's it, that's gonna be so annoying.
Yeah.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Is it
Jonathan,
the fog?
that is also incorrect.
Oh,
Is it Follows?
ah, shit.
And Spencer takes another point. It is It
Hey.
Follows.
All right.
Damn
There we
it.
go.
It was either it or it follows. I guess that makes a lot of
I had
sense.
2 other backup
Yeah.
choices, but okay.
I feel like the fog was a good answer because it doesn't think or
was, but it
feel, it's
wasn't
just-
right.
It's just fog.
I had to take a chance with it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. All right, last one, just for fun. Spencer's already up 4-1.
John, I'll let
it
you
is
answer
one
first.
more.
Aw, so kind.
It is one more guess the cast.
Ooh.
Okay.
First character, Kyle Gallner.
Oh, I love that guy.
I know it.
What?
Second answer, J.K. Simmons.
I don't know if he's in it, but I feel like I still know it.
I don't know who Kyle
Third
Gallner
answer.
is. So.
Come on.
The third person is Amanda Seyfried.
Oh, is it
Put it in,
Maybe I don't know it.
is it
Jonathan.
Prom Night? What is that movie?
No, that was Brittany Snow.
Fuck. Another blonde actress.
I don't know if this is actually right because I don't know if Amanda Seyfried is in it. Pretend I wrote Ducky just back and forth here.
Nope, that's a good guess
Okay.
though.
He's in
I
that.
don't
I know Kyle Gallner's in it, but
Yes.
no.
but no, it is
I
not.
think
Haunting
Amanda
Yet.
Seyfried horror movie.
She's the star, or one of the stars.
Oh, Jennifer's Body?
It is Jennifer's body.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
My next guess
Yeah.
was going to be Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe, that's a good guess. That's a good guess too.
Yep, by Carol
All right.
Kusama.
So I technically
Karen
got two.
Kusama.
I got two. I got that. That
You
counts.
did, but Spencer
Yeah.
won.
Lost by 1
so
point, I
Spencer,
guess.
Yeah, it is. I lost by 2 points.
Yeah,
2 points.
All right.
Than,
It was
better
fun.
than I thought.
I'm proud of myself for getting any of those at all, to be honest with you.
So if you ever want me to do trivia again, I can take the reins. I don't mind.
I like that you jumped around to different types of trivia. I think that was a good idea. I
Let's
might
quickly see if
adopt that.
John can get this trivia question right here.
Okay.
This is easy. This is easy.
Well, okay.
Can I
I'm not a
answer?
complete idiot. You can give me something that's like
John has
intermediate.
first dibs, but yeah, you can back up if he doesn't get it. Question: Which
Yes.
room is Danny warned not to enter in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining?
Oh, room. What's a number? It's like something 43.
Something 43.
3, 2.
No.
No. It's
Yeah.
253. I don't know.
2 to 3. Okay, Nate. What do you got? What do you
What
got
is it?
here? What do you got?
237.
237.
237.
That's
Yeah.
In the
Sorry.
book, it was 217 because that is the actual room number in the Stanley Hotel.
Oh.
And then real quick, one for both of you. Let's see if you guys can get this.
I was close. I
Name
was only off
that
by like
movie.
five rooms.
Sometimes dead is better.
Pet Cemetery. Yeah. Oh.
Damn.
You didn't type your name in there.
Sometimes
Chief.
dead is better.
That was quick.
He's also in Weekend at Bernie's. Oh no, not Weekend at Bernie's. Whatever
My
movie
Cousin
we just watched. My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny.
What
That
have you
one.
done with its eyes?
Other Eddie's movies. Yep.
Yeah, sometimes.
Who's laughing
dead's
now?
better.
Yeah.
right.
Sometimes dead is better.
Alrighty.
There's a new Pet Cemetery movie coming out. The trailer looks terrible.
Well, the only thing that we didn't do is have Nate pick the next movies for the podcast, but we can just update that in Instagram stories. So follow us on Instagram, and we will let you guys know what the next movie we'll be talking about, because Spooktober, we can put a close on Spooktober 2023. No more horror movies. We can go back to just the regular selection, regular picks,
generic garbage.
more
Let's
movies that
go.
we've never
Regular
seen before.
mainstream junk.
Pitch Perfect on its way, everybody.
We'll update you guys on our socials when Nate has his pick, because we are back to his first time watch for the next podcast.
All right. Thanks
I
for
have
watching,
some
everybody.
ideas
2:30 or 1 minute and 37 seconds with 10 seconds to go. We'll see you next time.
We do have to end it now. So
Throw it in the oven.
Everybody.
Evan and toodaloos.
Toodaloos.